So I have to open up the gearbox here on an Emerbu MK8. This is the new MK8 with the V2 gearbox. Since I was going to be opening it up, I thought I'd go ahead and do video and show you guys the inside. And of course, talk about what you have to do to open it up. Relatively straightforward, but because of the blowback, there's a couple different steps. First thing you're always going to do after you get it out, of course, is take the spring out. So your spring had just been in here with the pin in here. And you're just going to go ahead and push this in with like a flathead screwdriver and turn so that it can pop out, right? So it'll pop out. You'll get that out of the way. Now you got multiple screws here, which I've already taken out. And then up top, this was the one thing I kind of wanted to show because it's a little different. You got a screw that goes through here, and it's got a little nut on the end. And then you have a screw that goes through here. And then I've left a few screws in, this top screw. And then I've left this one little tiny screw there, but I've taken out these other tiny screws. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take out this tiny screw. So you can see they're really tiny, so don't lose them. I've got a separate bag that I'm keeping the screws for kind of the blowback piece in so that I don't lose them. And then we'll take this out. And so since I already took those other screws out, when I pop this out now, it'll let me take the whole kind of the top off, okay? So this comes off like this, okay? And now we can kind of take the whole piece off at once. So you take this off, this can slide off, and then you've got your pin, your long pin, and your spring, right? So those actually, when you go back in, you just kind of put them back in reverse order, and then you make sure to use this to lock it back down in place, okay? So it's pretty easy if you just pay attention to while you're doing it, but that's a little different than, a V2 that doesn't have the blowback feature. So now I'll open it up carefully. If we're lucky, nothing moves. When I've opened these in the past, I've been pretty good about opening them without anything moving. So we'll see if I can get lucky again. So really all that popped was this piece, and that's okay because you just push that back in when you put it together. All right, so now we can see the inside. All right, so you can see all the gears, right? Metal gears. There's a metal ladder here. So I'll go ahead and actually I'm going to take that out anyway. So I can take that out and show it to you. All right. So right, metal cylinder. All right, so everything's right here. Of course, again, make sure you don't lose things, especially if it's the first time you're doing it. All right. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and I'm going to seal this cylinder up more or replace it if I have one that'll work perfectly. Now, taking these apart and putting them back together is not so bad if you're not rewiring them. What I've found is when you rewire them, it just gets tough to keep the wires in the right place. Like these, since the wires are already in place and they're already kind of glued in a few areas, not so bad to put it back together if you're careful. And if you notice, like this is even staying in place. So that works out nice. Otherwise, there's a couple different tricks. You can use magnets on the backside since these are all metal gears. So that's a nice trick. Thanks to a friend of mine, Chris, who pointed that out. I don't know why I never thought of it before, but that is definitely a good way to do it. Also, make sure you don't lose this little piece, okay? Because those can fall out and get lost. And that's actually what the one top screw from here screws into. So it needs that little square nut. Otherwise, just make sure you keep track of which battery connection goes where, okay? You could even kind of push them back into here if you're worried about that. So there you go, that's inside the Emerbu MK8. It's their new V2 fully upgraded blaster. Get it at emerbutoys.com. Amazon is all of a sudden super weird and restrictive about gel blasters because of some of the gel bead specific legislation since little kids were eating gel beads. So rather than hold the parents accountable, they're not going to allow those to be sold separately. And I think as long as sellers on Amazon don't show gel beads with their blasters and don't sell gel beads separately, I think they're going to be able to be there. Otherwise, emerbutoys.com. He's got a good website up now, and a lot of the blasters ship from the USA, and they're going to get to you in a couple days anyway. Comments, questions, post them below. Of course, like, subscribe, share my channel with your friends, and participate in those monthly giveaways. Thanks.